The candles were already melting by the time she realized no one else was coming. The tiny flame trembled in the stale air of the diner, bending low as if even it was tired of hoping. Outside, rain slid down the glass in slow, tired streaks, blurring the city lights into something distant and unreachable. Inside, a paralyzed young girl sat frozen in more ways than one, her birthday cake barely bigger than a teacup, her entire celebration costing less than the loose change most people forgot in their pockets. She had only $3 to her name, and somehow, she had spent all of it just to feel normal for a few minutes. She had no idea that at the next table, a tired single father was watching her quietly, and that a single walk across the diner floor was about to change both of their lives forever. If you believe that kindness still exists in a world that often feels cold, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us how powerful compassion and second chances can be. Her name was Lily, and she had learned very young how to make herself small. Small expectations, small dreams, small movements. An accident when she was 9 had left her paralyzed from the waist down, and poverty had done the rest. Her mother had passed away from an untreated illness, and her father had disappeared long before that, leaving behind only unanswered questions and an old wheelchair with squeaky wheels. Lily lived with her grandmother in a cramped apartment above a closed-down laundromat where the ceiling leaked and the walls remembered better days. Birthdays were usually quiet there, marked with a simple prayer and maybe a warm hug if there was enough energy left after surviving the week. But this year, Lily had turned 18, and something inside her had shifted. 18 meant adulthood, even if her body and circumstances refused to agree. It meant she could finally make a decision for herself, no matter how small. So she had counted the coins shed saved from helping neighbors with phone calls and paperwork, $3 exactly, and decided she would go to a diner shed seen on TV once. A real diner, with checkered floors and shiny counters, where people celebrated things without explaining themselves. The diner smelled like coffee and fried onions, and the bell above the door rang loudly when Lily rolled in, turning heads for a brief moment before life moved on without her. She ordered the cheapest thing she could, a slice of plain cake that had been sitting behind glass since morning, and a small candle to go with it. The waitress hesitated, pity flickering across her face, but Lily smiled first, a practiced smile that said it was okay, that she was used to this. The candle was lit, the cake placed in front of her, and that was it. No singing, no gifts, no phone buzzing with messages. Just her, the cake, and the sound of other people living their lives nearby. At the table next to hers sat a man in his early 30s, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes ringed with exhaustion. His name was Daniel, and he was a single father to a 7-year-old boy who was currently asleep in a booth across from him, head resting against a jacket. Daniel had brought his son out for dinner after a long shift at a warehouse, hoping the change of scenery might feel like something special. Money was tight for him, too, stretched thin between rent, school supplies, and doctor visits for a child who still woke up crying for a mother who would never come back. Daniel noticed Lily not because she was in a wheelchair, but because she didn't look at her cake right away. She stared at it as if it were something fragile, something that might disappear if she blinked too hard. He noticed the way her hands trembled slightly when she adjusted the napkin, the way she kept glancing at the door, as if expecting someone to burst in late with apologies and balloons. No one did. The candle burned lower, wax pooling at the base, and Daniel felt a familiar ache in his chest, the same one he felt every time his son asked why their family looked different from others. Lily made a wish, not the kind people usually make at 18. She didn't wish for love or success or miracles. She wished simply to not feel invisible anymore. She blew out the candle carefully, afraid of making a mess, and began eating the cake slowly, each bite deliberate, as if she needed to stretch the moment to justify the cost. Daniel couldn't look away. He remembered birthdays spent pretending things were fine, remembered how loneliness could be louder than any crowd. He thought of his son, of the example he wanted to set, of the world he was afraid to leave behind. And before he could overthink it, before fear or pride could stop him, he stood up. The walk across the diner felt longer than it was. Lily noticed him when his shadow fell across her table, her body tensing slightly, years of being stared at making her brace for discomfort. Daniel didn't smile out of pity. He didn't speak down to her. He simply placed something gently on the table and stepped back, giving her space. What he left behind wasn't money, though that would come later. It was recognition. It was the unmistakable feeling of being seen. Lily looked down to find a small folded card and a slice of chocolate cake, richer and fresher than the one Shed bought herself. Her throat tightened. She hadn't cried in public since she was a child, but the tears came anyway, heavy and unstoppable, spilling onto the table and staining the napkin Shed tried so hard to keep clean. Daniel returned to his seat, heart pounding, unsure if he'd done the right thing. He watched Lily wipe her face, take a bite of the cake, and then read the card. Inside, written in uneven handwriting, were words that felt almost too big for the small space they occupied. It said that birthdays mattered, that she mattered, that the world was still capable of surprises, even when it had taken so much already. The waitress noticed too. So did the cook. A quiet ripple moved through the diner, subtle but powerful. Someone paid for Lily's meal. Someone else sent over a warm drink. No one made a show of it. No one asked questions. It was kindness in its purest form, unannounced and unrecorded, except in the heart of a girl who had forgotten what it felt like. Lily stayed long after her cake was gone, warmth settling into her bones in a way she hadn't expected. Daniel's son woke up eventually, groggy and confused, and Lily smiled at him, a genuine smile this time, one that reached her eyes. For a brief moment, three strangers shared something unspoken, a quiet understanding that life had been hard, but not without meaning. When Lily finally left, rolling back into the rain-soaked night, she carried more than leftovers in a small box. She carried hope, fragile but real, and the knowledge that her existence had touched someone else too. Daniel watched her go, feeling lighter than he had in years, his son's hand slipping into his, as if sensing that something important had just happened. Life didn't change overnight. Lily still faced obstacles that couldn't be erased by cake or cards. She still lived above the laundromat, still counted coins, still struggled with pain and paperwork and inaccessible buses. But something inside her had shifted permanently. She started believing she deserved space in the world. She applied for a scholarship Shed always assumed was out of reach. She began volunteering online, helping others navigate systems that once overwhelmed her. She told herself that if one stranger could see her, maybe others would too. Daniel, too, carried the moment with him. He spoke to his son about kindness not as an obligation, but as a gift that gave back more than it took. He remembered Lily whenever the world felt too heavy, whenever he wondered if small actions mattered. He knew now that years later, Lily would celebrate another birthday, this time surrounded by people who knew her name, her story, her strength. She would still remember the diner, the rain, the man who walked over without being asked. Not as a rescue, but as a reminder that even on the loneliest days, life could still surprise you. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder of hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. And before this video ends, I have one special request. Please comment the word kindness below if you believe that small acts can change lives, because sometimes all it takes is $3, a single candle, and one person brave enough to walk across a room to remind us that we are not alone.